So I don't know how populated it's going to be this time. We'll see. Oh, dude. Whatever. Welcome back, Mighty Vandals and Tubs of the Club, your University of Idaho affiliate on the Big Sky Podcast Network. I'm your host, Bryan Marceau, joined by co-host and producer redacted, Marten Heemstra, holding it down in Moscow. How's it going, dude?
Going good. It's been another great week. It's been another good week to be back on. Sorry I missed last week, but I'm another year older. I am a spry age of 32 now. Finally got my AARP card in the mail, and I'm excited to be back on the show again talking basketball.
Yeah, Marten with the flex, like he forgot his actual age. Good one, man. That happens when you get it closer to my age. But also way to flex that, man. Like, yeah, getting older, 32. Yeah, go to hell, dude. But good to have you back. Good to have you back. It's important you're back because listeners may have noticed the absence of someone, and viewers can see the absence of Dallas Hammer, who will be out for a couple of weeks. Dallas had to make a pretty important change in his life. He is not at Nickelback. He is not at Nickel Band, the Nickelback tribute band we all hope to see at the Dome someday. Homecoming, fingers crossed, 2027, 2026. Not that I'm involved in the planning, but it's an idea. I believe, Marten, you said Dallas is seeing Papa Roach right now?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, change up. I would have guessed Creed. That's just me. But, to each their own, as some might say. Good to be joined by Ron in the comments section and anyone else who's here with us. This is a basketball-centric episode, guys. Coverage of spring football is obviously not that far away, but look, this is the last week of Big Sky Conference play for both men and women's basketball teams. Both teams have 3 games left. They're going to play this Thursday, the 26th, aka tomorrow, if you're listening live. Saturday the 28th, and then Monday, March 2nd. And then regular season basketball is done. And we have Starch Madness in Boise starting which is from March 7th until March 11th. So yeah, right around the corner, both really different storylines to track for the men's and women's team. We're going to start with the women because one of these two teams is humming at a mid-major national level. AK one is ranked number 21 in college basketball insider mid-major poll. That's our women's team. The other is not. So Ross Warren in the comments section, nice change to the background. Fired up to watch the women and the men play in Boise next week. Ross, that means, are you going to be at Starch Madness? I wish. I'm in my last semester nursing school, guys, aka my family go back to two incomes at the end of this year, which is when trips like Starch Madness are back on the menu. But that's not the case today. But Martin, the wheel is yours. Things went pretty well the last week for the Idaho women.
Yeah, things went really well for the Idaho women last weekend, last Thursday and Saturday. Starting on Thursday, they played Sacramento State and beat them pretty handily, I'd say.
Sack with a silent K. Even the women's team,
yeah,
they're still sack with a silent K in my house.
Yeah, Sac State beat them by 15. Sure, probably could have, should have, would have been probably closer to 20. But the fourth quarter, they kind of looked like they let off the gas a little bit. But that's me just nitpicking at this point. Big thing for Idaho for me, like that I noticed in this game, was they held their two big score. Idaho held Sac State's two biggest scorers to only 19 points for Bente Versteeg, 19 points for her. And for Natalie Picton, she only had 6 points. She did also have she did pick up three. I'm looking at here. She did pick up 3 fouls pretty early and was playing kind of pretty conservative for most of the second half. And same thing with Bente too. Overall, compared to the last game though, 26 points in game one compared to 19 now, and then 18 for Natalie compared to 6 now. So they held their two star players in check there. It was a pretty, all things considered, a pretty smooth game for Idaho, wire to wire, no real issues there. For Idaho, kind of just going there. Your standard players led the game for Idaho. Hope Hassman had 22 points. Kira Gardner had another great game, almost had a double-double with 13 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists. Whoops, I'm reading that wrong, and 6 steals. Kind of I won't say interesting story, a little out there stat line, but pretty good one overall. And then Deb DeSantos had another great game, as we all expected, coming off the bench, 14 points, 11 rebounds. And Anna Pinheiro, another great, has been really making strides as a sophomore as well. Another 13-point game for her. She has been probably the biggest, big one so far this season. Bryan, got anything about this game you want to add or talk about?
Well, yeah, that was a Saturday game against Sac State, and I mean, yeah, Martin.
We're doing it backwards today.
I go backwards just to change up. Why not, right? I 100% co-signed. I was at this game, and it felt like Idaho could have won by 40, right? I mean, like Sacramento State was outclassed, and the only reason it wasn't a 40-point game is honestly, like Idaho seemed kind of disinterested for spurts, but like it was never spurts where the game was remotely close to in question. It was more like, hey, a high 20 lead goes to mid-teens, and then Idaho gets some separation.
They got to get great value Jason Kidd sometime there too. That dude just would not shut up the entire game.
Yeah, you're talking about the Sac State head coach.
Yep.
But yeah, like I just want to kind of bring up what you're talking about holding Bente Versteeg. She had 19 points, going 7 to 17 from the field. She was really the only Hornet who was a threat at all. Outside of Versteeg, the entire team combined to shoot 14 of 49. That's 28%. Whereas the Vandals shot 43% from the field, 54% from three. And these were all good. These were a lot of open, good looks from three. Hope Hassman essentially was able to penetrate, get into the key area at will. And Deborah Dos Santos, she gets the ball near the block, near that circle. She is pretty much the only way she stops is if she misses a shot. She doesn't get blocked, and she's pretty dang good down low. Also, seeing Dos Santos hit a couple threes. I'm not saying I want her to live behind the arc now, but it was nice to see those go in. But no, I mean, this was you'll talk about Portland State in a second. This was a great tune-up for Idaho to close out the season. Look, the Vandals are in pole. They are in control of their own destiny. This is the number one seeded team in the Big Sky. However, they do need to win out because look, if there's a team Idaho could theoretically stumble against to close the season, it would be Northern Colorado. Right now, the Bears are number 3 team in the conference at 11-4 in conference play. Idaho's number 1 at 14-1. Montana State close behind at 13-2. But if Idaho were to stumble against Northern Colorado, that would turn Idaho Montana State into a tiebreak. Both those teams have split the head-to-head, which then means their record against the next highest team in conference is what you look at. And if Idaho were to lose against Northern Colorado, then the Vandals would lose the tiebreak to Montana State. So Idaho owns the number 1 position in heading into Starch Madness, but the Vandals can't afford to drop a game if they want to hold on to that number 1 seed.
Yeah, sorry about that, Bryan. Moving on, going backwards now to Saturday's game because, of course, this website wants to load for me funky. Idaho on Thursday played top 5, bottom 5 Portland State 80 and beat them 86-66. Never really was. This one was one of those never like a no-doubter game for Idaho. There were some quarters where it felt like Idaho was kind of not really playing defense, but they were at the same time. But Portland State was in it, was really not really in it at all. Their highest score, they have 2 players at 16 points, 15, and then just was a bunch of low scoring, low single digits for them. For Idaho, this one was a lot more spread out for Idaho. Kiergaard, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people on the team had double-digit points. Kiergaard led the way with 17 points for Idaho, and then both Lorena and Deb both had 15 points for Deb and 12 points for Lorena. Good to see even good to see the post play getting a lot of stuff there. And overall, this was a more dominant game. It felt like never really let off. They didn't really feel like they just let the Portland State not make shots and just made sure to get everything and play damn good basketball for them.
Yeah, against Portland State. And as a reference for you guys, top 5 Portland State on the women's side. Look, the Portland State in men and women's basketball, they're complete mere like 180 opposite of each other. The Portland State Vikings women's team sits at 2-13 in conference, last place in a death match, half a game behind Weber State at 3-13. But this is, a Vikings team that has 1 win on the road the entire season. That did not come against Idaho. Want to also bring up the Vandals just dominated the boards this game, out rebounding Portland State by 15, 41-26. Look, this is Idaho outclasses Portland State. So a blowout win is the expected outcome, expected finding of a game like this. Was nice to see the spread out scores. It's also nice to see, Deborah Dos Santos, she gets her 15 points, just having to log 17 minutes. Usually on this show, we're talking about how we want her to get close to that 20-25. But if it's a blowout game, no, man, get the starters off the floor if you don't need them. Let everyone rest, rotate people in and out. That's part of why you saw the spread out scoring the way it was. But a very strong week for the women's team heading into Starch Madness. Marten, anything you want to talk about these games before we talk about the games to come in the projected bracket?
Overall, nothing really to worry about. I think the big thing for just to make note for Idaho, if you haven't listened to the coaches show or paid attention, one thing really of note to say is just Mary McMorris should be back here in these next couple games, which will be a nice, good depth piece for Idaho to have another starting caliber guard coming off the bench for Idaho. It'll be kind of interesting to see how they play who loses minutes with Caitlin Conger playing pretty well as a true freshman. But it'll be interesting to see how they get her back in, how she's playing right away, coming back from her injury, which I can't remember. I don't remember what it was. It was like Achilles or something with lower leg or something. But overall, just something to look forward to for the women coming up in these next few games going into Starch Madness.
Yeah, co-signed. Do you want to hit the comment section real quick? Ross Warren letting us know, yes, he will be in Boise. Jealous. Mark Triple Piece. We got tacos and chicken sandwiches at the Sac State game. Yes, we did. I actually was given 3 of those the chicken sandwich tickets, which I'm okay with.
Free food's good food.
Yeah, free food is good food, man. Both my daughters were at that game. They loved it too. Ron Lowney, the women have better teams. Well, duh, dude. But that means you're paying attention. So thank you, Ron. The worst men's Big Sky basketball teams I've ever seen. We'll get there. The conferences, men's versus women's side, it is a little bit different this year, right? But the women's is pretty top heavy. There's a clear 4 teams that are in theory going to be playing for a shot at that title game in my mind. Ross Warren, the sack with the Silent K game was all about controlling the tempo and spreading the minutes around, keeping everyone fresh for the final push. And co-signed on UNC, need to be focused and bring it for that game. Northern Colorado, really, that's the big game for the women to close the season in my mind. Something to pay attention to with the Bears on the women's side. They don't have a single scorer who's, putting up like 17 a game and dominating, but the Bears have 4 players averaging between 13 points and 10.5 points, led by Nina George, 13 points and 39% from the field. Just behind her, we have Heather Bayman scoring 12 points a game, shooting 35.5% from the 3. So, Martin, anything you want to say about the games to come this week?
No, I just say if you can get out there on Saturday and Monday to support these women at home in the regular season, hopefully there's postseason games to maybe go and watch them, whether it be in, I don't know, like in Des Moines, Iowa, or somewhere close by. But just kind of make sure to come out and support them on Senior Day this Saturday if you can. And then Monday at 6 p.m. for watch them take on Eastern.
Yeah, and this Saturday, I really wish I could make this work because the men and the women play. Well, they're playing a doubleheader, and interestingly enough, the men are the matinee performers, which is one of the first times I've seen that. But I don't know why the scheduling gods have placed it that way. But there's also no rule that the women always have to be matinee.
It's kind of also from, I think if I remember right, I overheard it's because they're traveling back Friday for the game from their game at Northern Arizona in Flagstaff.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever.
Just give them a little more time. But yeah. Oh yeah, it's still very cool.
It's kind of standard for men's basketball. Typically have better attendance. So my hope here would be that, hey, maybe some extra people stay from the men's game and the women get one of their better crowds. The women had great crowds against the Montana schools. It was okay. The community showed up the last 2 games in my mind against Portland State, Sacramento State. Student section, not quite as strong. But really, if you can get there, you absolutely should. This women's team they're playing for a conference championship. They're playing for a 1 seed. And speaking of which, Martin, if you want to bring up the bracket, because I have a couple bracket related questions for you. If the women's season ended today, Idaho would be the number 1 seed playing the winner of Weber and Portland State. If for some reason, and Martin, I'm just going to say like, hey, imagine these 2 flip. So let's say UNC picks up a W over Idaho just to make in this theoretical argument. And Montana State and Idaho flips, and suddenly Idaho's playing the winner of NAU Montana. Both of those are Sunday games. And whoever wins those second round games that I'm talking about, where Idaho would start, and those would be on Sunday, March 8th. No matter what, the winner of those games gets to sit out Monday, and then their next game would be the conference semifinals on Tuesday. With that is your background, Martin. Which scenario would you rather have for Idaho? Playing the winner of Weber Portland State or playing the winner of NAU Montana?
I mean, I'll be honest, either one, I'm not too worried, but if I had to pick one, I'd probably say the winner of Weber State, Portland State. That's just where I'm feeling. I think that would just, you want to get more Boise Vandals involved. I think that's where you probably get some like fun entertainment fans to come out and see the women on Sunday.
Yeah, look, either's fine for Idaho, but brain dead to me. You would rather be the 1 seed and play the winner of Weber Portland State.
Sorry, Colby.
Weber and Portland State women's teams have a combined record away from home of 3-26. Sign me up for that any day of the week. Now, it's not like Montana and NAU are lighting the world on fire on the road, but those teams are combined 8-18 on the road compared to 3-26. So I, of course, would say no. If Idaho could have, look, the advantage of the bracket right now, if you finish as one of the top 2 seeds, is not only do you get a skip playing in the first round, because there's a few teams that get a skip play in the first round, but you also then get a day off after your second round game, assuming you win. So there is 0 chance of having to play consecutive games until you get to the semifinals and the finals. But at that point, that's a pretty big advantage to be playing your semifinal game with a day rest, where you also got to sit and watch, on that rest day, the other side of that quarterfinal, the quarterfinal matchups are taking place. So right now that would be on paper, ISU and SAC with silent K on the Idaho side, with UNC Eastern Washington on the Montana State side. Getting to watch whoever you're going to play actually play their game and then have that day of rest, that's a pretty big competitive advantage in my mind. So that's the route I would want, is just win out, get another banner to throw up in the ICCU. The men have not been able to do that for 30 some years. Nice to have something else to throw up in there. And this has just been a kick-ass season anyway, with how well the season has played out. You just love to ride into the conference tournament on what the women have won 12 games in a row, 15-game winning streak heading into Boise. Sounds pretty good to me.
Oh, yeah, 100% agree, Bryan.
But with that said, man, before we talk men's, we have someone else to talk about. Is Dallas making a cameo today, Marten?
I believe so. I think he's joining right now. I think I see him.
If you are looking for a great all-inclusive week-long vacation, don't look past your backyard. Hughes River Expeditions has been vandal owned and operated since 1976 and are ready to take you on the vacation of a lifetime. Enjoy a multi-day trip down the Middle Fork of the Salmon, the main Salmon River of no return, the Salmon River Canyons, or the Selway, and you can check out special trips like one to see the Perseid meteor shower. Camp on pristine beaches, run amazing whitewater, hike scenic trails, spot wildlife, soak in beautiful natural hot springs, and fish some of the most remote stretches of river in the entire United States. Just bring your clothes and let HRE handle the rest. Grab a paddle, catch dinner, and ride the bull all throughout the Gem State. Call them now at 406-540-4450 or check them out at hughesriver.com.
Okay, guys, we're back. Just takes a second to get those clicks in. Now, the men's side, it's just not the same, man. The men have been up and down for most of the season, and this road trip against Portland State, Sac State, Portland State, number 1 in the Big Sky. You knew this was going to be a tall task to pick up 2 W's. Idaho most certainly did not pick up 2 W's. The Thursday game, your Vandals go down to top 5, actually number 1, Portland State, 77-67 in front of the biggest crowd that has ever been present at Viking Pavilion. 2,180 people present. You could tell on the stream that Portland State had pretty good attendance and really good energy there. Now, is it weird that that's the biggest attendance that they've had since that place opened? Sure. But still, there's some energy around Portland State that has certainly not been present for a minute. And, when you're sitting at number 1 in conference at 12-3 in conference play, not shocking that you get to experience that, right? So for most of this game, it was a 10-point game. Idaho is getting their ass kicked the overwhelming majority of this game. In the first half, it seemed that just about only Jackson Rasmussen was ready to deal with the physicality of Portland State on the game. Rasmussen scores 18 on 8 of 17 shooting from the field, picks up 4 rebounds as well. Colton Mitchell eventually put some points up in the second half, scored 14 points, shot 4 of 12 in the field, picked up 5 assists as well. And then Isaiah Brickner had a strong second half, totaling 22 points on 6 of 9 shooting, including 7 of 9 from the stripe. But minus those 3 guys who shot right around 50-ish% from the field against Portland State, the rest of your Vandals, it was just kind of a no-show situation, guys. The rest of the Vandals, minus those big 3 that I just referenced, double checking our crack stat team really quick. Rest of the team shot 5 of 22 from the field, accounting for 13 points. So if you were not Rasmussen, Brickner, or Colton Mitchell, 5 of 12, 13 points. That's just not going to do it. And talking eye test, not just talking stats, of course. Like, hey, did what we see during the game match what we saw in the box score? Oh, absolutely. Athletically, Portland State completely outclassed Idaho for a lot of the game. Idaho just was not ready to handle the physicality of Portland State. The refs were letting Portland State and Idaho too get away with a little bit of contact. But there are times when this Vandal team, when teams kind of push them around, the Vandal response is to become passive. And it is not shocking. Look at, like I said, Portland State sits at 12-3 in conference play. Idaho right now sits at 7-8 in conference play. Not shocking that the team leads that is atop the league has a better response to physical basketball than a team that's hovering around 500 in league play. But yeah, anyway, also wild thing here, leading scorer for Portland State on the season, guy who is probably going to be first team All Big Sky, Terry Miller Jr., only scored 6 points, but that didn't matter because Jalen Henderson and Keon Kinsey, both those two combined for 44 points on 15 of 32 from the field. So Idaho looks like they're kind of reeling, because I know it was a 10-point game, but Idaho looked terrible against Portland State. Just absolutely terrible in my mind. The Vandals did recover, though, against SAC with a silent K. The Vandals hold on for an 86-80 W. Idaho, so reference point here. I just have to bring this up because this is a storyline that we have tracked throughout most of the season. Against Portland State, part of what kept this game competitive was Idaho shot well for them from 3, 11-27. My problem here is 27 out of 60 shots from 3. That usually means the Vandals are being passive. Now against Sacramento State, Idaho was able to shoot from behind the arc, went 14 of 34. That's 41%. That's a very good number. Held on for a 6-point lead, 6-point win. For a good amount of this game, Idaho always felt like they should have been up by closer to 20-ish, but the Vandals essentially led from wire to wire. They were paced this game by B-tch Johnson, who had it was very nice to have B-tch Johnson back. He'd had a string, just a slew of rough games, including shooting 1 of 8 against Portland State. This game, B-tch, this was kind of the B-tch we saw in spurts during the middle of the season. He scores 25 on 7 of 15 shooting. Also got 14 points out of Brody Robry and 18 from Jackson Rasmussen. 6 of 7 from the field for Jackson Rasmussen. Really, really want him to get some more shots up. However, he also did go 5 of 6 from the charity stripe. Isaiah Brickner adds 11 points as well. Jack Payne with 10 points off the bench. But look, the storyline for Idaho offensively, good news, bad news. They shot 41% from 3 in both games. That is significantly higher than the Vandals season average for the overwhelming majority of the season. It's the kind of thing that on the one end, we know this team has to be able to hit from deep to beat some of the better teams. And not going to complain about this team, a smaller team that starts 3 guards needing to hit threes. That's going to happen for sure. The concern we always have is that when this Idaho offense gets stagnant, it's when they quit getting aggressive and quit looking to put pressure on the defense, which can yield open threes. Where the Vandals sit right now for playoff contention, Martin, you can throw that bracket up. is the Vandals are not, if the tournament started today, they would not be sitting in a first round bye. Right now, we'd actually be getting a rematch with Sac with the Silent K State in the 7-8 game, with the winner, if it started today, playing who would be number 2 Eastern Washington. Wild story for Eastern Washington to sit at number 2 in league play right now. They've got the tiebreaker over Montana State. The Eagles their record on the year is 11-17. They had an awful record in the out of conference, but they also had like the number 32 ranked out of conference schedule in the nation and had quite a few close losses. They've also had quite a few close losses in early Big Sky play, but the Eagles have rebounded to 9-6. That's relevant because Idaho will be closing the season against Eastern on March 2nd. So right now, the only 2 teams the 3 teams Idaho sits ahead of in Big Sky Conference play are Sac State, Idaho State, and Northern Arizona. There is still theoretically the ability for Idaho to move as high as 4. They would need some help for sure. But the good news for Idaho is they will look, if you're sitting at 7, you got to move 2 spots up to get a bye, right? Well, Idaho could pick up a big win. If Idaho can beat Northern Colorado, just like in the women's side, Northern Colorado game, that's a huge game for playoff implication for the men too. Northern Colorado sits at number 6. If Idaho could pick off the Bears and get to 8-7, suddenly they're theoretically tied with an 8-7 Grizz team, but Northern Colorado will play Montana later. So on the one hand, you hope that Idaho can pick off a W against Northern Colorado. And on the other hand, maybe Northern Colorado can give the Grizz a loss to close the year because the Bears have Eastern after Idaho. So you can understand a world where if UNC can beat Montana but gets swept by Idaho and Eastern on this trip, and your Bears have been pretty bad on the road. They've been not as good on the road. They're 18-10 on the season, 7-6 on the road compared to 10-3 at home. That math does not 100% add up. ESPN, well done. Anyway, if that's what Idaho needs to be able to theoretically move up. It's probably a bit of a stretch to say that Idaho would be able to eclipse Weber, who sits a game and a half ahead of Idaho with 2 games left to play, one of which is Idaho State, who in theory you'd pencil that as a loss. Weber's also got Portland State. That's probably a loss. I don't know. Maybe things change around. Idaho State lost 9 in a row. They just picked up 2 wins over Montana. But I don't know if Gus Etchinson's going to average 30 points a game each game to close out the regular season. But I guess, that's what you're looking at to close Idaho's season. The Vandals have officially beaten last season's win total, right, Martin? Vandals had 14 wins last season. Right now, with your Vandals sitting at 15-13 overall, not only is that one more win, that is also above 500. Last season's team, I believe, finished 14-19 on the year. So a few extra games, but that's Idaho has a very good shot to finish above 500 for the first time in about 8 years, which is a big deal. But at the same time, we'll talk about this more when the season closes. I feel like, if Idaho only picks up 1 win between now and the Big Sky Conference tournament, even with those extra 2 wins compared to last season, you would say that's kind of limping into the conference tournament. That's kind of disappointing relative to how the season finished out. Christian Gonzalez not playing is a big deal for Idaho. And Colton Mitchell's also kind of looked banged up since Portland State. So that's a thing to keep your eye on as well. But I think these last 3 games are big for Idaho. I think they're big for Alex Pribble. If Idaho can pick up 2 out of 3 against NAU, Northern Colorado, and Eastern, with Northern Colorado and NAU being in Moscow, the 2 most likely wins, I'd say. Martin, this might sound weird, but if the Vandals finish with 17 regular season wins, maybe stretch it to 18 with a postseason win, even if they do not get a first round bye. I probably feel a little bit differently than if this team finishes with 16 wins and, maybe drops first round game in the conference tournament. So I guess a question for you with how the season closes, are you like me where I like to me picking up an extra win or 2 feels like it actually matters more for Idaho than the raw win total might suggest?
think so for me. Like, I think I think just it would be nice. It seems like just looking at the schedule again, it seems like that WSU loss was so long ago. I completely forgot about it. It doesn't really mean anything anymore. But like, I think like you said, just picking up a couple of those wins would be nice. Bryan, you're muted.
In honor of dearly departed Dallas, right? Now I will say, if we're talking schedule jockeying for the Big Sky Conference tournament, if you throw that bracket back up, Martin. No, you've already got there. Yeah, if you throw that bracket back up, first round teams Idaho could play. Oh, brain dead. I want NAU. NAU for sure. Idaho State, the Vandals have split the regular season with. The Vandals absolutely should not have split the regular season. They should have easily won in Pocatello, but they did that passive thing where they start jacking up shitty threes when they had a lead late against Idaho State and completely face planted that one away. Sacramento State. It's weird. I feel okay about the Sac State matchup. It's just I don't trust this team to shoot 40% from three in Boise. I just don't think it's going to happen. In theory, Sac State should be a fun matchup because that's not a very good defensive team. You kind of have to hope Mikey Williams for Sac State is back because I think Sac State is objectively worse when Mikey Williams is playing. He played in the first game against Idaho. He did not play in the second game. And Idaho just really struggles with keeping Lavrinov away from the rim. I don't know why, because no one else in the conference does, but Lavrinov for Sac State, the power forward, looks like an all Big Sky player against Idaho and does not look that against anyone else. But I guess of the three teams on paper, Idaho could play if they're not going to be skipping the first round. And until the Vandals are skipping the first round, they are not. I would say I'd want NAU first, Sac second, ISU last. If Idaho somehow works their way into a first round bye, I would, just looking at the theoretical matchups, they would potentially be able to move Montana or Northern Colorado out. If that's the case, if the season ended today, the four teams, the first round bye who are not number one, PSU, number two, Eastern, that's Weber, Montana, Montana State, Northern Colorado. The Vandals split their season series with Weber and Montana State. I believe they did not split with the Grizz. I'd have to check the crack research.
I don't think they did.
No, they got swept by the Grizz, which is weird. I just don't think the Grizz are that good. I
Lost
feel like
73-79 one game and then 68-73 in the other one.
That should be a better matchup, but Montana plays physically and Idaho backs down to physicality right now. That's just who that team is. So maybe you say Montana is weirdly the team you don't want to see, even though I think Montana is the worst of the four teams who have a first round bye. But realistically, guys, if Idaho somehow squeaks into a first round bye, the safest gamble would be a loss in their first game, which would be a quote unquote third round, actually second round, but second round games in Boise. So I don't know if you're talking win totals, maybe you want Idaho still to pick up those 2 wins, but not have the right help take place and still finish outside the top 6 and play NAU. I guess that's my dream scenario, to pick up an extra W, Martin. But that's kind of where we're at. The women are kicking ass and rolling towards the conference championship. The men, now I did bring up them having to win 2 out of 3, but the Vandals have not won 3 games in a row. They
haven't won 3 games in a row this season.
No, they haven't won 3 games in a row this entire year. And if the most likely place to pick up W's are versus NAU and Northern Colorado, that would mean a first happened. Now, of course, they could split and then beat Eastern on the road, but Eastern's been hot as of late. Eastern just took down Portland State, who Idaho looked outclassed against. And Idaho is a 500 team. What do 500 teams do? They win some games they shouldn't. They lose some games they shouldn't. So safest expectation for your men's team is they will not skip the first round. And they'll pick up at least 1 win out of the 3 to close the year, but the ceiling is probably 2. With honestly 1 and 2, going 1 and 2 might be the most likely outcome. I hate to say it, but that's why I said I think these last 3 games are really important for Idaho. Even though a win total of 16 is not that different than a win total of 17. Just having the chance to finish with 18 wins on the season, it weirdly feels materially different than having a ceiling of 17 win season. And look, either way, I don't think there's a really much of a chance. Idaho, it'd be insane to gamble on Idaho getting out of the second round of this conference tournament. So the ceiling of this team is kind of being like a more fun, more frisky, slightly better version of last season's team, but they play the games for a reason. So we'll see. I really think next season is going to be a huge season for Idaho men's basketball, but we have 3 regular season games plus the Big Sky Conference tournament between now and that discussion. So really for different reasons, I think both the men's and women's teams are kind of must-see TV. The women's team is one of the best women's teams. I mean, Martin, like you could rank this, I guess, if you wanted. How relative to you're kind of our women's basketball historian, you might say, in spite of being just 32 years old. Yeah, I didn't forget that flex, dude. How would you rank this year's team compared to some of the great teams that you've watched, in your decade plus of paying attention to Idaho women's basketball?
Without just right now with where the season's at, I'd put this one right now on par with I think this team would beat all of them, but just looking at like how the season's gone so far, I'd say this is top 3, but up there with the 2015-16 women's basketball team that won the tournament in Reno and went to play Baylor, and the 2018-19 team that sadly lost their second round game against I think it was their semifinal game against Portland State, but then went on a run in the WNIT versus went on a run in the WNIT to the quarterfinal versus Arizona and this team there. It's kind of hard to figure that out, but I feel like they're up there at like at least top 3 for me. Bryan, you're muted again.
Yeah, I blame Dallas. Good play. That's a good place to be. The men's team, just verifying, last season, the men's team finished 8-11, counting the Big Sky Conference tournament. Actually, no, that cannot possibly be correct. The Go Vandals page is off because they played 2 conference tournament games. So no, anyway. They finished 8-10 during conference play. Went 1-1 in the Big Sky Conference tournament itself. That equates to 9-11 in conference play. This year's team, as of today, sits at 7-8. So I don't know if they go 1-2, they tie last season's 8-10 in conference play. If they pick up 2 out of 3, they'll be 1 game ahead. But then depends on how the conference tournament goes. No matter how you look at it, you're essentially within the margin for error of being essentially the exact same Big Sky Conference level results, but have a slightly better overall record. Again, sitting at 15-13 last season, 14-19. So like the winning percentage is a significant step up. But I don't know. It's just weird. It's just weird. The way the team just hasn't been able to string together consecutive games or sometimes consecutive halves. It just makes it feel like this team has left probably 4 or 5 W's on the table, which starts to make you feel weird about the season, or let's say underwhelmed about a season, in spite of this being, again, easily the best Vandals team in 8 years. So fingers crossed they can get together, make a little bit of a run, or at least get towards that 18-win threshold. So I don't know, idiots like myself can exhale about what type of growth we've seen for the men's team. But I mean, honestly, man, that's what I'm paying attention to the next couple of weeks. Spring football is not coming for a while. Support the show, patreon.com/Tubbs at the Club for the best place to talk Vandals sports online.
And if you're watching on the show right now, you can, hold on, let me get this up because I'm tough producing in public because I'm a shitty person. Come on, you piece of shit. You can scan this QR code in the top left-hand corner of your screen to just get there easily. You don't have to type anything, just scan that, and then you will get there and be able to join.
Patreon.com/Tubbs at the Club, or scan that QR code that Martin pulled away right as I was starting to talk. look, you guys, supporting the show is a big deal. Helps us a ton. Helps us keep the lights on, and it costs less than a cup of coffee a month. Lets you be part of the best online place to talk Idaho Vandal athletics, bar none. There is nothing remotely close to as good as our Discord. Nothing remotely as active. Also, like the conversation in the Discord is just better than virtually every other online forum I've ever seen. So support the show. Have a good time. Look, we got spring football. We got football stuff to talk in the next couple weeks, probably next time we record, depending on how things go. The tournament may be over, or we may be doing a quick preview of the tournament. We'll actually probably do a quick preview of the tournament and then close the book on the men's and women's seasons afterward. But thanks for supporting the show, guys. Thanks for coming along. 45 minutes, one of our shortest episodes in forever, Marten. So, man, how's it feel? We get a clock out early.
I know, it feels good. Feels weird.
Yeah, Dallas. You know what? I blame our less expeditious episodes on Dallas, obviously. But anyway, guys, thanks for coming. Thanks for supporting the show. Hammer that like button on YouTube. Helps out in the algorithm. And until next time, go Vandals.
Go Vandals.
This is producer Bryan doing a terrible job of even finding what we're going to play us out with. So we're just going to call it good. See you guys Tuesday.